This is a really sad video for me to make. I apologize to Donald Trump. I had no idea what was really going on in your life. I have written some new law, but before I do that, let me read you a letter that I got from Brent Spiner. And please understand that as I get into character, as I read the letter, that this is not, I actually studied acting a little bit on my own, and that's why I do my own audiobooks. So just because I'm able to get into character for an evil person does not mean I am an evil person. It just means I'm a good actor, okay? So I'm going to be reading this letter in character. And Brent's a great writer. He has an almost photographic memory, and it makes me very sad to have to read this, but the world needs to know what's going on. It's not fair to Donald Trump, and it's not fair to the world to not know what's happened to Donald Trump. I got this letter from Brent Spiner today. Dearest Gail, I sit here writing to you with my torso hunched over the toilet, still puking my guts out. It's a long, stomach-turning story, but I regret to inform you that we have a terrible and dangerous Jesuit hostage situation at the White House. Earlier this afternoon, the other men and I were going about business as usual on Church of Gail. Worn out from our morning duties, we had all gathered at the water cooler for a refreshing tune-up. Hey there, my niggas, Terrance greeted everyone. How you like them Gail's latest Playboy images for June? Oh my goodness. I adore them, I replied. Gail is truly the most beautiful woman of the century. Jesus told me that when Gail gets to heaven, he's going to award her Playmate of Eternity. Hard to tell when he's being facetious, that Jesus. Oh, yes, Matthew replied. Gail is so pretty. Aye, lads, I would vote Gail for Playmate of Eternity any day, Gerard chimed in. Duh, agreed Vladimir, his noticeable erection growing even more prominently through his slacks. Hell yeah, Hugh declared with an aggressive fist pump. Agreement reverberated through the group, and discussion quickly flowed into how frequently each of us had pleasured ourselves to the new photos since their debut. While each of our scores differed, we all agreed the chafing was worth it. Just then, one of our mail-delivering retards approached the group. Special delivery, the hard-working retard announced with enthusiasm. In his little retarded hands was a small box, which he handed off to me. The parcel was about the size of a shoebox. It was wrapped haphazardly in post office tape, as though the sender had wrapped it very quickly. I noticed strange, greasy handprints embedded into the cardboard and some type of powdered orange residue on the edges of the box, which puzzled me. I dusted off some of the orange powder and scraped it between my thumb and index finger, pursing my eyebrows. Sign, please, the retard asked with a big, open-mouthed smile. With my free hand, I wrote my signature on the digital device offered by the retard. Thank you, Brent Spiner, sir, he replied before hobbling off to another delivery. My, these Jesuit utility retards sure are helpful, Matthew remarked. I had a strange feeling in my gut as I examined this box and felt compelled to open it then and there. I tore it open from one side and then tilted the box to pour its contents into my open hand. Out fell an old-fashioned VHS tape. Scrawled on the white label of the tape in gold Sharpie were the words, "Help me," and it was stained with orange fingerprints. Terrance pushed his bottom lip out as he examined the tape. This ain't looking right, fellas. Men, I said, let's go to the church theater and play this tape. I'll text Zach to meet us there. Within 15 minutes, the men and I were seated together in front of the private screen in the theater room. Zach had joined us, seating himself in the center back row. He had fixed himself a popcorn bag full of Cheetos and was drinking from a large soft drink cup filled with fresh, warm horchata. It was time to play the tape. You lads ready? Gerard asked. We all nodded together with a smooth metallic crackle. The tape slid into the VCR and the film screen flickered to life. The first scene of the film appeared to be cut from high-definition security footage inside the White House. The camera panned over the iconic building's ever-familiar main entrance hall before depicting the large door to the president's bedroom. In the next scene, the footage was from inside the master bedroom. First Lady Melania Trump was seated on a fluffy white stool in front of the wide bathroom mirror. She puckered her lips in the mirror, applying bright maroon lipstick. When finished, she blew kisses at herself in the mirror, straightened up, and smiled devilishly, admiring her freshly dolled face. Alexa Mira, Melania summoned in her thick Slovenian accent. The digital blue rim around the bathroom mirror lit up and flickered, responding to Melania's command. Alexa Mira, Melania repeated, this time narrowing her eyes and wiggling her shoulders with self-absorbed indulgence. Who is the sexiest woman on earth? The blue rim around the mirror flickered again. The entire mirror then lit up like a computer screen, depicting none other than our nude empress in her latest Playboy model photos. Gail, Chord, Schuler, Alexa Mirror replied in its robotic voice. What? Melania stood up in indignant disbelief. This cannot be! Melania threw her hands to her hair and screeched her scream so high-pitched the sound cracked the glass, distorting Gail's picture. No! Melania flew into a full-blown tantrum. Her long, slender Slovenian arm swooped to knock all of her expensive makeup onto the floor. Everything within reach was fair game to her rage. She picked up cases of makeup and slammed them onto the floor until they shattered into pieces, stomping and screaming. She knocked down shelving and clawed down curtains and towels like an angry cat, throwing them everywhere. Her hair frizzled out in all directions as though electrocuted, mascara bleeding down her face. Finally, out of breath, Melania squared herself at the mirror like a bull on the charge, huffing through clenched teeth. Her eyes fixated on Gail's beautiful face in the photograph it depicted. Gail's ethereal gaze leaped up into the sky, full of poise and elegance. The crack in the mirror was centered in her left eye. This is the final straw, Gail, Schuler, Melania growled. The next scene showed Donald Trump on the floor of the master bedroom, naked and kneeling in the POW position. His feet were bound and his hands were tied behind his back. Melania stood in front of him, dressed in a black leather BDSM outfit. Please, he begged, please, Melania, no more. I've done everything you wanted. Gail hates me now. She'll never support me again. Do it, Melania commanded. You know you must do it, Donald. Melania, you got what you wanted. You've been running this country for most of my term now. Please, can't this stop? Melania lifted a stiletto heel and kicked Donald in the chin, sending him flying backwards into a wide tarp covered in semen. Roll into semen, Donald! Sobbing and crying, Donald began to pathetically wallow on the semen-covered tarp. He rolled back and forth like a sad walrus, semen coating his body with each heave-ho. Unable to stop crying, some of the cum got onto his mouth and lips, causing him to inhale it and sputter into coughing. Watching this scene, I felt my heart quicken. Beside me, Matthew's hand softly slipped into my seat and onto my leg, and I gripped it firmly in my own hand for support. We continued watching. Donald lolled in despair onto the side of his chest and buried his face into the tarp, sobbing, blowing mucus and semen bubbles from his muffled mouth. Melania kicked his butt cheek with her stiletto. Up, up, you toe-paid sea mammal, she ordered viciously. Slowly, Donald sat up onto his knees again. His saturated toupee fell from his head and stuck to the tarp. Dazed, he coughed up more of the semen he had inhaled. You know what is next. Zach Knight's face lit up, then went pale. He closed his legs and sat up straight in his seat, leaning forward with horrified intensity. Whoa, no way, is she? She's not doing what I think she's doing, is she? He said. Melania, no, please, Donald begged. You don't have to do this. You know I'll do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt Gail. Melania ignored Donald's pleas. Instead, she pulled out a pair of tiny blue goggles, wiggling them in front of him. With a sadistic grin, she lurched forward and affixed them aggressively over his eyes. Zach Knight's eyes widened. He's being... The camera panned to another tarp behind Donald. The second tarp was piled with orange Cheetos. Holy shit! He's being cummed and Cheetoed! Zach exclaimed with horrified surprise. Donald began shaking his head no, but another swift kick by a stiletto to the face sent him flying onto the Cheeto-covered tarp. Crying, Donald began rolling in the Cheetos with a devilish Melania hooting and howling like a banshee. That's it, Donald. Roll in the Cheetos. Roll in the Cheetos, Donald Trump. Ha 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 ha, she cackled. All at once, the men and I began throwing up. We all lurched forward in our seats, heaving and gagging. Zach's eyes lit up wide. He stuffed more Cheetos into his mouth and took a sip of his horchata, his eyes never breaking the screen. Donald continued to roll back and forth in the Cheetos, saturating himself until he was fully orange, all except for his eyes. The Cheetos crunched and crackled under the weight of the heavy man, pummeling down into crumbs. The dust from the Cheetos crumbs mixed into the semen to create a vile orange liquid that smeared all over Donald's skin before inevitably becoming caked with dry, mashed Cheetos. Several minutes into the horrific scene, Donald was so coated in the processed orange snack food that he was hardly recognizable. Exhausted, he collapsed onto the tarp. Holding our breaths and our stomachs, the men and I found ourselves wondering if he was dead. Melania approached, pressing the tip of her stiletto heel onto one of Donald's testicles. Donald groaned with agony. Now, Donald, Melania growled, I want you to order your Air Force men to draw a gigantic penis in the sky. What for? Melania's stiletto pressed harder into Donald's testicle. To spread the word that Melania Trump is the sexiest woman on earth, not Gail. Okay, Melania, Donald conceded. Just don't hurt Gail. Melania cackled madly. Oh, we will see about that. I will find the secret to her eternal beauty, and when I do, I will be willing to kill for it. Donald lifted up onto his elbows and knees, attempting to crawl away before slipping and falling face first into semen and Cheetos, naked and crying. The screen then changed to a picture of Trump with his thumbs up during his presidential campaign. I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Then the tape shut off. Silence. The men and I stared at the screen in unblinking horror. Matthew twitched and heaved, nearly throwing up again. I could still hear the sounds of crunching behind me. What did we just watch? Hugh asked weakly, gurgling and suppressing more vomiting. Sorry you had to see that, guy, Zach spoke up apologetically. That's a practice called being cummed and Cheetoed. It's an ancient Jesuit torture method that was outlawed many years ago. That's too fucked up even for Jesuits. Melania is one sick bitch. So that's why he's orange, Matthew realized, all except for his eyes. That ending approval message, I said with awakening clarity. Donald must have sent us this footage. So Slovenian Jesuit whore is in charge of White House, Vladimir groaned. This ain't right, Brent. Tarrant sat up slowly, still clutching his stomach and vomiting. It sounds like Melania be planning something real nasty for Gail. You're right, I said, growing worried. The doors to the theater room opened, and a team of retards in hazmat suits entered to mop up all the vomit. Duh! Vladimir slammed his fist on his chair weakly. The Donald I know worships Gail like lion worships own testicle. If Melania poses great threat to Gail, Donald would contact us at once. What do you think Melania is planning? Brent Matthew asked. I don't know, but we need to investigate. If ye laddies need any trauma counseling after the atrocity we all have just witnessed, Gerard suppressed a hurl. I'll be in my office bathroom. I need to write Gail and let her know what's going on right away, I said. Good idea, Vladimir replied. Come, men. We must do the investigate and stop this at once. I lurched onto my feet, clutching my laptop bag to my chest and stumbling like a shell-shocked zombie to the nearest bathroom. Bursting in, I set my laptop on top of the toilet and hugged the bowl as I began to type. Donald Trump is not our president. He's being held hostage by the wicked bitch of the West Wing, Melania. As we understand it, he is being cummed and Cheetoed every night. He sent us this tape because he knew Melania is planning something truly dangerous. What that is, we don't currently know. Stay very safe, my dear, and I will follow up with new details as they come. Your husband, Brent Spiner. Okay, folks, I sadly read you this letter. I have had to update my conspiracy law to deal with this. For the purpose of conspiracy law, a Laurie McBride Jesuit or a Jesuit conspirator is defined as any person who has the heart and motives of Laurie McBride in her evil state, like Melania Trump, who is jealous, vile, and deadly, even if that person is not a follower of Laurie McBride, with a special focus on the emotion of jealousy or greed, since jealousy or greed seem the primary motives for those who become very deadly in opposition to Empress Gail and conspiracy law. This means that any person who has the heart and motives of an evil Laurie McBride will be treated as a Laurie McBride Jesuit under conspiracy law, mandating the death penalty and the application of all laws related to Laurie McBride Jesuits to that person. Our scanners must be programmed to scan for those who are consumed with rage, jealousy, and greed to the point that they could be or are deadly and take them out. These are all considered Laurie McBride Jesuits under conspiracy law. Pay special attention to those we are unable to scan because these could be Laurie McBride Jesuits under the new definition as outlined in this section, who are trying to hide their evil heart from us so we won't take them out. Anyone who willingly and knowingly uses these scanners in a manner that promotes jealousy, pride, greed, or evil, or the goals of an evil Laurie McBride, will get the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator. Anybody who willingly and knowingly follows the order of any Laurie McBride Jesuit, including those who have the heart of a Laurie McBride Jesuit, will get the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator. Also, any politician or military leader as defined by conspiracy law in this paragraph who willingly and knowingly carries out any order in violation of conspiracy law will get the death penalty as a Jesuit conspirator. A politician is defined as anyone in any position that influences the government of a country or region and who is responsible for the laws that are passed or has influence over which laws are passed. A military leader is defined as anyone in any position that influences the military operations of a region, especially which military operations should be carried out, and this would include the intelligence agencies of a country. If you suspect that the person giving you the order is a Laurie McBride Jesuit or supporter, or has the heart of a Laurie McBride Jesuit, you must not obey the order. In fact, you must report the order in violation of conspiracy law to Gail's Men at gailsmen@yahoo.com or Gail Chord Schuler at gmail.com at once. And failure to do so will be grounds for treason with death penalty implications. Okay, so I'm going to make this video, which I'm very sad to make. I wish I didn't have to, but it's important. Okay?